And welcome everybody to. Oh, what? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Is that me? Is it? Oh, it's
No,
me. Of
what?
course, it's me.
It's you.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, right. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Let me take care of this.
Yes.
Something's going on.
Uh-huh.
There we go. Of course, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. I had a double me in my ear. You
Mm.
know, there's nothing worse than when you come in your own ear. Is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as we've all had that experience, of course.
Well, yeah.
Is it just me? Is it?
Oh, it's Bigus Dicus, of the Monty Python.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I'd forgotten. Yeah, I keep forgetting myself, but there you go.
Mm.
Okay, so it's probably just you and me, but there you go. If you're out there, anybody? Oh, Jefferson's here.
Hi,
Hello,
Jeffrey.
Jefferson. Let me just put that up. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. This is, of course, the Formula One 2022 World Championship Round 17, the Singapore Grand Prix, said in
Mm-hmm.
my best enunciating voice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what a race! I think it was what a race. I don't know. Nothing to see here. Basically, is what I did on the thumbnail. And the reason I did that is not just because of the bad conditions and you couldn't see jack shit every time they went through a puddle, but because actually Singapore is rather boring. I've discovered. What would you
It
say,
is.
Fabio?
Yeah. No, it is. It's like Monte Carlo on steroids. It is as
It's
boring as Monte
worse.
Carlo, you know?
It's worse. At least Monte Carlo, you can look at the scenery.
Yeah, right. So,
You know what I mean?
I
Why
know.
would you have a street race at night? I don't understand it. That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
Okay, never
I don't know.
mind. Never mind. Hello, Geo Sam. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and sub to mine and Fabio's OnlyFans page, where we get
Yes.
up to all sorts of naughty things.
Oh, yes.
That's because we're bang tidy, Fabio.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. I don't know. I've
I
been
don't
watching
know.
too much Keith Lemon, but there you go.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow. Singapore is getting trashed right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that goes, Jeff. That's how that goes.
Yeah, that's how we
Anyway, there you
roll.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Basically, let me just do the review,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm normally I just do this at normal speed, but I'm gonna do this double speed because do you know what? I cannot be fucking bothered. I really
Okay.
can't. I mean, why are we at Singapore, right? It's a 2 hour race where they do unstupidly long fucking amounts of laps,
It it was actually a 3 hours race because they're pussies, and we talk
technically.
about it because I want to talk about it.
Okay, yeah,
Actually, while you
fair
do
point.
the recap, let me get some pictures. You know that
Yeah,
know what we talk about.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I know that. I think I might know the ones because there was something
Yeah.
else on.
Yeah.
Okay, OnlyFans is a trap. Word to the wise. You're not wrong. The thing and why you want to subscribe there, Jeff, is because you don't know which one of us is being the trap. Right? That's what keeps it. That's what keeps it going. Okay. Anyway, let me just do the race review now. This is the 2022 Round 17 World Championship race for Formula One Singapore, and it was pretty good qualifying as it goes. A fantastic pole by Checo Perez. Checo Perez. They're saying it's one of his greatest races. I fucking hope not, because otherwise he is shitter than I thought. But nonetheless, he did win the race from pole. Let me just put that out there. Spoiler alert for those that are interested in listening to the next 2 3 minutes. Oh dear. Anyway, Checo Perez lights to flag win and one of his best races allegedly. Second place Leclerc, Pacey Pastry, of course, and third on the grid was Carlos Sainz. Fourth, no, that's not right way around, is it? Yes, that is the right way around. No, do you know? I think I've got it all wrong again, Fabio. You muted. Please correct me. Leclerc on pole. Is that right?
Yes, Leclerc
Yeah,
on pole. Yeah,
Leclerc on pole.
Leclerc, then
Then
Perez,
Perez,
then
then Hamilton,
Sainz.
then
No,
Hamilton,
Sainz third.
then Sainz. No, then Hamilton, then
Oh,
Sainz.
Hamilton, yeah, was yeah, Sunny on the right, and then Sainz, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so that was the order.
yeah.
But the reason I'm confused is because as usual, I guess, as we've come to expect now at Singapore. Though the person that starts on pole is on the outside for the first corner, so that's a bit of a disadvantage, and especially in the wet where the traction is poor for both sides, it
Yes.
gives a distinct advantage to the person in second place. If Senna were here, he'd probably have crashed into the first corner. Just saying. Okay, so anyway, that was it. Sainz in pole position. As you can guess, got away fairly well. Exactly the same reaction time as Perez. Unfortunately, Perez had the inside into the first corner and so took the lead. The same thing with Sainz. He took the lead over Hamilton, and in general, the even side of the circuit starting managed to get ahead. The only person that exception was Verstappen. Hey, Lucky. Good to see you. Please come in as soon as you like, dude. We're waiting for you. Um, let me just say, here we go. Good evening. There he is. Good evening. There should be, if on Discord, there should be a link for you, Lucky. Okay. So if you want to check your Discord. Okay. So anyway, into the first corner. Then it was Sainz, as I say, really lights the flag victory. Then Leclerc, and then sorry, Perez. I'm getting all confused. Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, and that would have been the way it should have finished, apart from a few mistakes. Norris also right up there, so fantastic race by Norris. Sainz and Hamilton coming together in the first corner. Sainz obviously on the inside, coming off better. And this was going to be a kind of a theme, of course, with the poor conditions. There was a lot of hassles, tussles, outbreaking, all sorts of problems on this circuit. So, in some senses, lucky they didn't start earlier. But it would have been more entertaining, at least. Okay, so anyway, away they got in pretty much race order, and it was to remain that way for some time. The Alonso and Ocon doing extremely well, along with Norris keeping them behind. This time as well, the Alfa Romeos, not the Alfa Romeos, the Alfa Tauris were up there and generally had a good race until problems later on. The Hasses getting involved, Magnussen getting involved early with Verstappen, who had a poor start and dropped right back. Then again, it was just a matter then of Verstappen trying to come through. Could he get through the race and manage to get enough positions? Lap 7, it was really a terrible mistake by Albon, I think, who, it's probably a Latifi, but Albon, I'm going to say Albon for now. Albon for going into the side of Bottas, I think. I'm going to say Bottas. It was probably Jean Zhao. In fact, it was Joe. Hey, Joe. Okay, I'm just going to call him Hey Joe from now on because I can't keep fucking saying his name. Anyway, Zhou out of the race and Albon with damaged car. Yeah, it was Zhou as well. Yeah, I was right for once. Okay, then on. Lap 11 is the next time we saw some problems. Sebastian Vettel racing with just about everybody who was any good in this race. Racing with Verstappen, managed to keep him behind for several laps, as we have come to expect from the 4-time world champion, Vettel. And eventually, though, Verstappen made a daring move down the inside and forced Vettel out. Then, of course, Alonso having a problem, having to pull off the track. Tsunoda making a mistake, calling out for yet another. Then Albon making a mistake. It was just mistakes all round. People out braking themselves under the poor conditions. It was very slippery. The track did not dry out. Then Hamilton's turn. And this was a really quite bad timing because this is by lap 33 by this time. Quite bad timing because it was just before the track went to slicks. If he'd managed to hold on in there, he would have had a fantastic result. As it is, he finished way down in 9th place. More people out once they did get on slicks, of course. The AlphaTauri of Gasly, who was very disappointed after the race, spoke out quite harshly about other people's driving. And then it was a question of really running the clock out and seeing if anybody could overtake, especially Verstappen. who managed to get alongside Norris, but unfortunately couldn't overtake him. Sorry, it was Ricardo. Couldn't overtake him, and then Russell also running out of road. There was a few decisions to be made here. People trying to go early to slicks. Russell was one of them. Gasly was the other. This was Gasly's issue. He actually. I see you there, Lucky. By the way, I'll get you in as soon as I finished. Yeah, Gasly had a complaint earlier about having to go to slicks early. But of course, he was the mule, the test mule for slicks in this occasion for both Red Bull and AlphaTauri. More or so for to find out whether Verstappen should be in, of course. He complained afterwards bitterly. Of course, he's leaving the team at the end of the year, hopefully, and going to Alpine to replace Alonso, which should be fun as he hates Ocon. Okay, moving on. Russell also called into the pits early as a mule for Hamilton to see whether he should go to slicks. Eventually, everybody got on to slicks though, and of course, Verstappen's straight pace was amazing. Then at the last safety car, there was a slight issue where Perez dropped back a couple of times, at least more than 10 car lengths behind the safety car. And by precedent, that meant he should have had 2 penalties. They gave him 1 anyway. But of course, he was under investigation and he had enough laps. And this is one of the reasons why I say it was nothing like his best race, because he was easily able to pull away from Leclerc once they turned up the engine, gave him a bit more power. And that car clearly was the superior car all weekend, really. And he was able to pull 7 seconds ahead of Leclerc. And then when they finally did give him the penalty, it turned out to be 5 seconds, and therefore he still won the race. So basically, that was that. Lewis making a few mistakes, just letting people past. I think he'd given up the ghost a little. He was trying very hard in a battle with Vettel and Verstappen. Pushed too hard, and clearly couldn't keep up with the outright pace that the Red Bull had, or even the other, or even the Aston had. That left Perez to romp home 7 seconds, as I say, ahead of Leclerc. Sainz in 3rd place. And then a fantastic result both for Norris and Ricciardo, who finished 4th, 5th. Stroll in 6th. A great result for Stroll. Again, showing he's a consistent driver and can handle himself in really tough conditions. Max Verstappen 7th. He was disappointed considering he had such a bad start. Not a bad result still. Sebastian Vettel in 8th, being overtaken by Verstappen at the end. Hamilton dropping back a little bit into 9th place. And Gasly in 10th place, a good result for him. And that is my race review of Singapore. I'm going to pass it over to Fabio here, but I'd also just like to welcome Lucky to the stream. Hello, Lucky. How are you doing, buddy?
Good evening, afternoon.
Yes, evening, all. Hopefully. I'm hoping it's evening where you are.
Evening here with us in the UK, but Jefferson, for instance, I'm sure would still be maybe afternoon. Or
very true, very true. Yeah, there you go. This is why you're on the panel.
Fabio.
This is why.
Good to see you.
So,
okay, over to you, Fabio, for the race review, please.
The race. So, first of all, let's start from Saturday. The polling thing that Red Bull did with the qualifying, basically Verstappen missed the qualifying because they didn't put enough fuel in the car, so they had to stop him in the lap where it was, more probably than not making the best time. So that was interesting to see. Verstappen didn't take it very well. The old race was, the classic position race in Singapore. The only factor which played was the fact that the track was a little bit moist. I love to say moist. Some people don't like the word moist, so I'll try to say moist as much as I can. So basically, what happened is that the row of car which were behind the pole sitter, they were actually on the trajectory lane, and because of the fact of they were in the trajectory, in the normal trajectory, there was more rubber, and when it rains, the rubber gets more, especially when the truck is moist. With rubber, it has less traction. So that's why basically all the cars which were on the opposite of the pole sitter on the left, they all had a better start. Leclerc actually had a very good start, but he spun the wheels in third gear. They almost all of them start in second gear, and that's common when the track is moist. But yeah, Leclerc just spun the tires from second to third. Perez didn't. Got position. Track position. There's nothing you can do. Fuck it. So. Here it is about the Red Bull. So Hamilton was really disappointed. I really thought he was going to make a good race. I mean, he has experience. He on the track. He drives really well. Usually, the fact that the truck was moist was kind of a equalizer between the bad performance of the Mercedes. Actually, Hamilton raced a really bad race, made a lot of mistakes, and he crashed the car in the barriers the last time. So bad Hamilton, bad. What else? Alonso, 350 race starts, and even his engine wanted to celebrate that by blowing on the candles, and decides to shut down. So everybody was having a big celebration for 350 race starts of Alonso, which beat also Kimi Raikkonen, and now is the guy with most starts in an F1 race. I mean, whatever the fuck it is, I don't know, but apparently it's something really good. Perez. Now, Perez is an interesting guy. Perez won straight and square. There is no dispute about that. Who really lost, I think, in my opinion, was the FIA. Perez collected 2 penalties while behind the safety car, and specifically the penalties that he collected is the one that says that when the safety car has the lights on, there cannot be more than 10 cars between the race leader and the safety car. And in 2 occasions, there were way more than 10 cars. There was a lot. The first occasion was on a long straight. This is interesting because of what I'm going to say in a second. And the other one was immediately after, the long straight on a set of corners, really tight hairpins and corners. Now, the FIA. So this is specifically prohibited by the rules, and there are a couple of precedents. One, I think, is in 2010, where Vettel did the same thing and it was assigned a drive-through. And another one in more recent years, I can't remember when, but it was Giovinazzi.
Sorry, just tell me how many seconds equivalents is a drive-through, just so people know.
20 in Singapore, easily 23 seconds.
Right. Yep.
And the other precedent was I can't remember exactly when. I had some notes, but I lost them. But the other one was Giovinazzi, and it was assigned 10 seconds.
Singapore, yeah.
Yeah. So Perez, on paper, best case scenario, he should have been assigned, 2 penalties of 10 seconds each, so it would be in 20 seconds. Let's say that that they want to assign 2 5-second penalties, it would have been 10 seconds, and with that margin, Leclerc would have won the race. It took them 2 hours basically to figure out what the hell to do with that. They call the driver's seat, which I think that I do not understand at all, because I mean there is a rule, you apply the rule, and then why do you want to listen to the guys driving? I mean, it's a rule. It's pretty clear. It doesn't say if there is a full moon, but your gas is not really working, or stuff like that. I mean, it's a rule. They should have applied that. They didn't.
Sorry, I just want to say, is there anything about how moist the track is?
It was. Oh, I'm getting there. Hold on a second.
There might be a rule in there about moistness.
No. I'm super getting there. So they decided to call Perez after the race, and Perez, with a face like a giant turd, he just said what everybody would have said. He said that the conditions were very and I wrote it because that is super amazing. He said the conditions were difficult, the track was moist, and sometimes the safety car was too slow. Keep in mind they're driving F1 cars, right? Sometimes the safety car was too slow, and sometimes I couldn't keep up with the car. Now, if you remember before, the first penalty happened in a long straight. So apparently, the AMG Black is faster than F1 on the straight when the track is moist. Apparently that's what Perez said. And the second time was after the turn 15, where there is, some really strange hairpins. So apparently the AMG Black is faster than F1, both on long straights and in tight corners. Now, this is what Perez said. And apparently, the FIA said, oh yeah, you know what? That is an explanation which makes total sense. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you a warning for the first one, right? And we're going to give you 5 seconds for the second one. So this is how the race ended. It ended 2 hours later with something which was honestly super hilarious. And apparently we all learned something new, that the safety car sometimes is too slow, and we've all seen that. But sometimes the safety car is too fast for a Formula One car. That's what Perez said, and they all believed it. So kudos to the guy, and kudos to the guy believing that crap amount of bullshit.
Yeah.
So
I know where he got it from, by the way.
Oh, I mean, he got it from his ass.
He got it. No. Well, close. I mean, if you describe Helmut Marko like that, then yeah, fair enough.
No, listen, I'm not.
I'm just saying, Helmut was looking out of his dodgy eye when it was too fast, and he was looking out of his good eye when it was too slow.
I am not blaming Perez for saying that.
No, of course not.
That was the only thing he could say. The only thing he could say was try to shift the burden on something about the track being dangerous and the conditions. That was his only excuse. What I'm really pissed off is the fact that, well, first of all, the FIA got the safety car really late after the, I think it was Hamilton in the barriers or Tsunoda, one of the two. But they got the safety car a little bit late. And apparently Monza hasn't teach those suckers anything. And the second thing is not Perez saying that stupid shit, it's the people actually believe in him, which is really amazing. So,
yeah, especially as right at the beginning of the safety car, he was pulling alongside the safety car to try and get him to speed up. And then to complain that it was too fast. Yeah, I mean, they've got to be a fucking week short of a fucking day, haven't they?
If we want to go, if you want to go into comedy, the Perez engineer actually told him, keep up with the race car, while it was, the race car was like
unbelievable
way there. So I mean, that was one of the things that everybody knew, and that happened. And again, I said it at the beginning, I want to reiterate that, Perez won fair and square. There is no question about it. to play the devil's advocate, somebody might say that the old race was actually, tricked by that thing, because somebody might say that because of they were expecting some penalties to happen, Leclerc might have done something different or not. I'm not really sure about that. I think that the car, Red Bull was a little bit faster than Leclerc.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the only good thing about the race, the last 15 laps by Leclerc, it was a joy to watch. I watched all the final laps from the camera car of Leclerc, and his steering wheel was every time all over the place. It was always counter steering, it was a joy to see. That really was the best part of the race.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't work. So, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to Lucky then. Lucky, welcome to...
Sorry.
One more thing.
And then I quit, because I said at the beginning there were a bunch of pussies. The race ended because of time. Because there are 3 hours from the start of the event, and because it was raining a little bit, and there were a bunch of pussies. They decided, to postpone the race, and then basically the race ended up because of time limit. Now, what I want to share with you guys is something which happened in the same day, not too far from Singapore. It was actually in Thailand. Let me see. Hold on a second. I'm gonna share my screen for a second, right?
Okay. Well, before you do, I'll show a picture of the worst condition, right? Puddle. Them going through a puddle at Singapore. Okay.
Please.
Okay. Let me do that. So let me just open up the shot. I think it was that one. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Let's go back here. Now I share screen, Chrome tab. No, it's not. It's a window. There it is. Share that. Okay. So there we go. So this is the worst. This is the worst of the conditions that they had.
Yes.
This is the start of the race. And I picked this out because it's a puddle. Right at the beginning, there's a puddle going across. But if you look there, on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see Verstappen's car, right? You can see it perfectly clearly. There's hardly any spray. Look, there's no spray here, no spray here. This is just this puddle that they're going through, okay? And as I say, I deliberately picked this frame because it had the most spray, right? So just to say, that was the conditions. Look at that, right? Perfectly on the right-hand side, Verstappen's car, no problem. Little damp. You can see a little bit of spray off the wheel. Okay. So there you go.
That was super dangerous. I mean, it's super dangerous. I mean, you don't want to race in that kind.
Okay, I've got some roboting from you, dude.
Oh, am I okay now?
No, you're still roboting. You might have to refresh quickly.
Yes, I refresh. I'll jump in. Right on. Hold on a second.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Lucky. We're going to get to you extremely quickly, all right?
That's absolutely okay. We're in no hurry for anything.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Obviously, your take on the Perez incident at the end is going to be vital. And then anything else you want to say about it, that's also cool. Okay, Fabio, you're back. Hello.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Okay, I mean, those conditions we saw, they're really appalling. I mean, nobody in his right mind would race in such a dangerous situation. And that was in Singapore. Let me show you what happened in Thailand.
Okay, I'm ready to share.
The same day. So, hold on a second. Share screen. There you go. Let's see what happened here. This is so this is Moto2 race in Thailand. They fucking start the race, right? Okay, so this is one picture. I've got more pictures. Just give me a quick second. So
okay, so this is you taking a picture from the screen. So this isn't actually off a screen print. This is your phone taking a picture of your screen, correct?
Yes. This is Thailand, again, Moto2, and you can see there is a little bit of water. Just a little bit. Yeah, Just
And they're
name
on
it.
2 wheels, right?
They're on 2 wheels. The contact patch is the size of a credit card. And as somebody which I used to, to race with, it said, the main difference between a car and a bike is that you cannot fall off a car, you know. But people might say, "Oh, and by the way, they race. They race the old race. It doesn't show here, but it says 8 laps to go, stuff like that." So they made 13 laps under that. Then they red flagged the race, and then they tried to restart. But still, they fucking race, okay? And what people would say, "Oh yeah, but it's Moto 2. It's not that powerful." Well, first of all, they're kind of 120 or bhp at the wheel, but hold my beer, because these are guys from the MotoGP, right? Which raced a little bit later. So when I say they're pussies, I've got those guys are
So just again for context, these guys are doing 200 miles an hour, right? The Formula One
Yes,
cars
yes.
probably 180. Okay,
Yes.
so 20 miles an hour slower. They've
Yeah.
got 4 wheels, all
Yes.
with
Yeah.
intermediate tires, or they could have chosen wets if they'd wanted. And of course, these guys are on 2 wheels with intermediates. And what can you say? I mean,
I don't know.
it's
I mean,
the stark difference.
the contact patch that motorcycles have.
I'm going to read Gio's comment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is not moist, man. That is floated. That is not moist.
Yeah, that is moist. Yeah, and
Just to give you
like
people.
that's like a virgin on a wedding night. That is,
Yeah. So just to give people some reference, open your wallet, get a credit card. That is the contact patch of a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I mean the total contact patch between the 2 wheels.
Yes.
This is how much the rubber hits the road. So yeah, I was quite
so now I want
disappointed.
to hand it over to Lucky now, because we're half hour in. I'm going to try and keep this to an hour or so, if at all possible. Lucky, welcome to the show. How have you been in the 3 weeks we've missed you? And also, how did you find the race?
I'm excellent. Good to see you guys, as always. As I said, I think Gio must get the Quote of the Day award for that moist comment. That was brilliant. I will continue along the lines that Fabio just left us with there. That was a ridiculous. Delaying the start because it was moist. Poor babies. Poor babies. I can't say much about the Perez penalties, quote unquote, penalties, because I'm only finding out now the outcome. I knew there was something pending, but I didn't know until Fabio talked about it just now what the outcome was. And yeah, it does seem a bit farcical, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Just
indeed.
a bit farcical. One good piece of news that we can divulge this week, of course, is Mr. Latifi will be leaving at the end of the year. If only it were sooner. Be glad to see the back of him, and so will Guan Chu after getting taken out by Mr. Latifi.
It was Latifi, okay.
Yeah, it was Latifi put him into the wall. Apparently, Latifi was complaining that he had brakes on only one side at the front. Every time he hit the brakes, the car was veering off to one side, and that seemed to be the issue he had. Whether that was the case or not, I don't know. But that was the excuse.
Yeah, they were full of excuses this time around, weren't they?
Well, it was a race of 2 fields. We had from Perez down to Ricardo in 5th. They went. None of them had any problems. They all raced their race. It was a bit processional, right enough, but they didn't have any problems. And then everyone behind just seemed to make a mess of it in some way, shape, or form. And Hamilton, Verstappen, both. I mean, how did Hamilton get away with that crash into the barrier? I mean, if he hit you, he killed you. It was a serious smack, but he reversed out and he kept going. Best of luck to you. Verstappen went for a move that was just never going to happen, and he was lucky enough that he went down on the skateboard, flipped it round, and he was away again.
Hmm.
But the rest of the field just seemed to be constantly making a mess of things. But it was nice to see someone win that wasn't called Verstappen for a change.
Yeah.
That was definitely good, and of course, seeing McLaren's fourth and fifth was nice to see as well.
Yeah, I was pleased for Ricardo, especially.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he was getting a lot of support from the Singapore crowd, who I guess were mixed in with a lot of Australians, because Australia is not that far from Singapore relative to European sort of tracks. So yeah, I was pleased for Ricardo as well. Did Perez deserve a win? Because the safety car was too fast. If it was too fast, should he be out there racing against
Too fast.
people?
Man, it's too fast. That fucking Mylander. Mylander is going to be the next driver for. Yeah.
Ironically, I said to Fabio in the Discord at some point, Burt Mylander for the win.
Yes.
And actually, it turned out I was right. Because it was Burt Mylander that drove too fast.
Fastest lap of the race goes to
Too
Mylander.
fast. Too fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so farcical sometimes, isn't it?
Actually, Russell got in the pit lane way more times than Burt Mylander. that was a Mercedes which got in the pit more than the safety car. So,
Well,
yeah.
how did you feel about that, Lucky? Because there was obviously Russell was brought in early to test the slicks for Hamilton. Obviously, Hamilton had a chance to win the race. If the slicks had been ready to go early, they would have had the most information. So that's fair enough. But Gasly complained afterwards about being brought in too early for slicks. So did you think that was the case? Or was the changeover to slicks done properly, in your opinion?
I think, to be quite honest with you, that Mercedes are grasping at any straw that they can get their hands on at the moment in an attempt to get Hamilton up the field. But it just doesn't seem to be happening for them, does it?
No, I mean, he's desperate for a win this season. He doesn't, by hook or by crook, he wants that win so he can hold on to his record of having a win every year he's raced.
Yeah, exactly. Every single year. Speaking of every single year, this is the 12th Singapore GP, and they've kept up their 100% safety car record. Every race, there's been a safety car.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Burt Mylander, as it happens, is a shareholder in the Singapore Grand Prix. If you didn't know that, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alonso, 350 Grand Prix. Jesus Christ. He's getting a bit long in the tooth. I saw a picture of him. When they put the picture of the drivers up on the screen next to the car for the positions. He's starting to look like my dad. And my dad's been dead for fucking 20 years, He's getting very grey. Oh, listen, speaking of pictures, I'm looking at your picture there, Simos.
Yes.
And it's very Wuthering Heights-esque.
Oh,
a kind of windswept look you've got there.
Yeah, it was a cold day out in when we were going there. That was a photo shoot for a band that I did. By the way.
I see. Okay.
Two quick things about things that were raised a little bit before. There is an interesting thing about Latifi. I mean, Latifi is obviously not the fastest guy on the grid. That is just a given.
He's got some good sponsors though.
There was an interesting interview with Nicolas Latifi this weekend, and I mean, because they're mostly assholes, but they're still human beings, and Latifi said that he basically never recovered from last year. He felt that the part that he had in the championship decided, because he was the guy which crashed and the old safety car, stuff like that. And
can I just say that thing? What happened is a few laps before the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Latifi crashed, which caused the safety car to come out, which caused all of the controversy with Verstappen being able to catch up a huge gap on Hamilton, and of course overtake him in the last lap to win the championship. And for that, Latifi was sent death threats, etc., by
Yes, and
overzealous fans.
yeah, and according to him, he never fully recovered from that, episode. So I'm not saying that this is why he's not performing the way he does, but from a human point of view, I mean, I could quite get that, it might have been quite distraught, both this whole season. The other thing you were speaking about the slick tires. Singapore is kind of a shit place. They put new tarmac on some parts of the circuit. The actually the crossover between intermediates and slick tires, I think it was 154, and that was the time that they were making. The main problem is that because of the tarmac, because of the fact that it's a city circuit, when Singapore gets moist, it doesn't dry up. It doesn't dry up unless there is sun or wind, which none of them happened during the race. So it was mostly a thing, to the feeling of the single drivers, and it was really, I mean, on paper that was the right choice. Once you get to 154, that's the crossover time, and you should switch to slick. It was a little bit more complicated than that. So I think, as you, Simon, said, they sacrificed Russell to see if that was working. Obviously, they yet to go with slick tires, mostly because of the fact that the intermediate tires would have never reached the end of the race. It's not like I can't remember which race that they ended up basically started with intermediate, ended up with slick with the same tire. It's not the same kind of tire, so they would not have been able to do that. So it was quite tricky because of the circuit, and because of the fact that it was moist.
Yeah, not just. I would say not just mostly moist. I would also say it was humid. Yeah, not
and
just
damp.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
moist,
just,
damp, and humid. Yes.
Yes,
they have
very,
these,
very much.
Yes.
They have all these hoardings around the track. So you're driving down a tunnel and there's no wind or anything that's going to get onto the track, which is going to leave the water there for much longer than it would in, say, Silverstone or somewhere like that.
For sure.
Yeah, but given that this race was basically shit and we agreed on, why don't we talk about what an amazing company the FIA is, and how much pissed you would be if you were Liberty Media, that they actually did a lot of things this year. I can see their effort in trying to reconcile the sport with the young, and then you had the FIA, which constantly, every race, what they do is they take huge dumps of shit on whatever they try to do. And let's talk about technical directive 39 if you want.
Well, this brings up a point actually, because this year we've gone back to the alternate stewards at racetracks, right? There's a grand steward. I don't know what they called it. I'm losing my sense of talking now. But they have a chief steward at each racetrack that they've appointed, and it's alternate. So one Grand Prix, one guy does it, the next Grand Prix, the next guy does it, then the other guy does it, and of course the complaint when they did this before was that it led to inconsistent decisions week on week, and we're back to that again.
Yes.
Right. So the very thing that the reason they put Massey, right, the guy that fucked up Abu Dhabi last year, the reason they put him in there was to avoid this. So they'd have one guy making he wasn't even a steward, right? Was he? He was just a director.
He was just a director.
Was the race director? Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason they did that is to oversee the stewards' decisions to make sure they were consistent, race to race to race. Yes. And now we're just back in the mire again.
Oh, now it's worse. It's worse than that.
And they have put in a system, right? A new system where there's some race stewards that are there every week at another location, reviewing all the video, etc., etc. But that seems to have made no difference whatsoever.
No, it's actually. I mean, I would say that it's actually worse than that,
Well,
because if you have a single person, right, which oversees the job of the different stewards that are nominated on each race, if the guy makes some really bad decision, you can talk with the guy and work with the guy in order to find more consistent decisions. It's the same person. You can work with him and try to find a common ground.
yeah.
Now now they don't even know the fuck they have to talk. I mean, who are they talking with? I mean, if they talk with Derek Warwick, which was in Singapore now, he will not be the guy in the next race in where is it? Is it in Japan? Yeah, in
Japan,
Japan.
yeah.
So if they talk with Derek Warwick now, it will make no difference of what happens in Japan, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it's so astonishing that they actually have to realize it on the go. I mean, everybody could have told them, listen, this is not going to work. If you want something consistent, you got to have one guy, and if he makes some shitty decision, you work with the guy, and next time he will make that shitty decision. But it's the same guy. That is consistency. It's inconsistent by design,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Sorry. Go ahead, Lucky.
Well, I agree totally. They need to find. I mean, there's a plethora of ex-GP drivers, no-nonsense GP drivers, who they could choose from to appoint one or two to come to each race. I mean, somebody like John Watson or Nicky Lauda would be
No.
perfect.
There is only one person which can, because the other problem is that
Nelson
nobody
Piquet.
No. The other problem is that nobody wants to make that job.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. After what happened to Masi, and in my mind, there is only one driver. The problem is that I think he doesn't give two flying fuck about it, and he would not get that job even if they killed his children. But there is only one person that I see that he could sit on that seat, and in my mind is Jacques Villeneuve. Problem is that he wouldn't give two flying fucks about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna suggest that Alonso should do it after he retires. But anyway,
They need somebody no nonsense. That's what they need.
Oh, Alonso has too many people, too many
I agree. Which makes him the perfect choice. But let me just say this: like this idea, because what they've done is they've had, as I say, an off-circuit, like set of judges, right, that are supposed to go over the decisions. Hence, it takes an hour and a half to decide whether someone actually fell 10 car lengths back or not. Right, which in the old days, I mean, who was the chief guy in the old days, Lucky?
Oh,
Charlie
Whiting.
Charlie Whiting, thank you, yeah. And so in the old days, we had this one guy, Charlie Whiting, that used to do it all. And he'd been doing it for years. Even he'd really written the rule book, which is why he rarely made a mistake. Now, these guys, let me finish this point. Now, these guys are doing it from a TV studio. Right, and of course, what do they have in mind? How good it looks on TV. Right, so the whole system itself is flawed. Right, it's not for the rules; it's for the TV that they're doing it. Go ahead, Fabio.
But this is exactly the point I was making before. If you have one guy, you work with the guy. Everybody now remembers Charlie Whiting, right? Few people remember that Charlie Whiting at the beginning was shit. It was really, 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 really bad. I mean, Michael Masi, it was a fucking genius compared to Charlie Whiting at the beginning of his career. He got really well because he made that job for many years. He spoke with the teams. He spoke with the drivers. He understood what actually the concept was. And he got really, really good at the end of his career. But at the beginning, it is obvious that even if you take one person, it's going to be shit, but that person can grow. You cannot grow a committee. That's it. And it's also a committee which changes from race to race. It's mental,
Yeah. Although, as I say, they have this off-site group that don't change race to race, and they're supposed to be overseeing it. Unfortunately, as I say, that's a TV. They're only
which
looking
is
at the TV.
crazy, because it doesn't work anyway.
Well,
So,
depending on who they are. I mean, if they knew the rule book backwards, then maybe
but
they could be
even
sitting there saying, "Oh, hang on." And I don't object. Like I think,
no,
like
but
you would
even
agree.
if they know the rules, Simons, the problem
Mm.
that we said at the beginning is not like the rules, it's the consistency, and that's the big problem.
Yeah. But it's the fact that they don't know the rules well enough to say
Oh
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
this is exactly how it goes. No,
right,
you have broken a rule. Here is the
yeah.
rule. There's no exceptions. Now they're going, oh well, look, we've got these exceptions over here. We've got these exceptions over here. What do? We look at president. Okay, looking at president. Okay, well no, we can't look at president because we don't know the fucking history of the sport well enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shocked and amazed in some ways, but I'm not surprised that a 5-second penalty was given for that particular thing, because 5 seconds seems to be the new, like, let's just give him a penalty. Okay, we'll make it 5 seconds, right? The bad, when a racer knocks someone off track, he gets 5 seconds. Well, knocking someone off track normally costs a lot more than 5 seconds.
I know, but it's not the 5 seconds which drives me crazy. It's the fact that they recognized there were 2 violations,
Yeah.
and they gave a warning for the first one and 5 seconds for the second one. Now, again, maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I am. I'm surely an idiot, right?
Well,
but what is
okay.
the point of giving you a warning for something, right, that you already did, and then they punish you for the same thing even before you knew there was a warning? I mean, isn't the warning supposed to be, you're not going to make it, if you do it next time, we're going to punish you harshly? I mean, that happened in the same race, What is, you either give him a warning for both of them, right? Or you give him a 5 seconds for both of them. I mean, how the fuck was Perez warned? So Perez was warned after he did, and because he repeated that, and he didn't know he was warned because they warned him after that.
Yeah,
They gave him
and then
5
he
seconds.
did it again. Yeah.
It's mental, It doesn't make any fucking sense. So it's
No,
so
absolutely. I mean, it was clearly designed because of this usual thing of how the media looks at it. They're not interested in the rules. They're interested in how it looks on TV. They clearly only gave him 5 seconds because they didn't want to reverse the decision, because they'd already put people on the podium, because they hadn't dealt with it straight away.
Because it took them 2 hours to make that decision.
Yeah, that is
a
crazy.
decision. Yeah, that is a decision which should have been taken, in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it is a black and white rule. Either they did fall back that far, or they didn't.
Right.
They have the data. I'll say this: I've seen in the past, right? Again, I'm talking about precedent. I've seen in the past Hamilton fall back a long way. I've seen lots of other people fall back a long way behind the safety car, and it never been even looked at, right? A few people have complained while they're actually doing it at the time and said, oh, he's falling too far behind, he's going too slow. Well, he does that, of course, because when they come round to the grid, for instance, to line up for some particular races I've seen, they want other people's tyres to be cold because their car heats the tyres up quicker. I mean, this is the kind of games they play, of course.
Right.
But it seems black and white to me. It seems like it's either 300 meters or whatever it is now, whatever the length of the car is. It's not 10 meters, is it? But it's a long way.
Yeah.
And it's either that or it's not that.
Right.
And again, I'll just say this. There used to be a rule when the safety car was coming in, okay, the lights would stop flashing. You addressed this earlier, so I'm not saying you didn't. Then the safety car's lights go out, and then the lead car is the safety car, right?
Yes.
And that's the official thing. So the safety car goes on to flashing lights, right, to say this is the last lap and it's coming into the pits. Then the safety car's lights go out.
Yeah.
Then the cars are free to go through because the safety car pulls off. In this particular instance, of course, the pit lane entrance is near the finish line, and therefore there's no way he would have had time to even fall back that far.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that it is still the same rule. It's one of the few rules which haven't changed. Flashing light on the safety car, You got to keep 10-car distance at most. That's it. It hasn't changed, but apparently it has changed for some people. But
Yeah.
it's not just the TV, and you're right. I mean, you have a point there. It's not just the TV. I think that the whole rule thing is mental, and just want to quick address the budget cap. I think
Oh,
this happened.
we haven't even talked about it.
Yeah. So really quickly, there's been some rumors that Red Bull and Aston Martin last year budget cap was they were over the budget cap for last year. Uh, so the finding, checking the budget cap is, I will give them that it's not an easy thing to do. There are some documents that the teams have to provide to the FIA, and also there are some documents that the FIA has to require and make further inquiries, in order to provide a report at the end of the year. We are October 2022. They are reviewing the budget cap of 2021, which is mental, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was supposed to be done by July. That was when the report of the budget cap was
Yes.
supposed to be in. They put that back to September because of these two teams allegedly who have
Yes.
overspent.
Yes.
Although the story is now changing slightly. One allegedly overspent a lot, one overspent a little. And now it's both the FIA are kind of putting the rumor out that both overspent a little. So we're already getting changes. They then made it for October. Now they then made it for September. They then put that back again once the rumors started flying for real to September. So again, they're just pushing it back and back. October, I should say.
We are expecting the report to be discussed and presented next Wednesday, so a couple of days from now. There is a site which is from the Netherlands, so I don't know how I mean, what good of information they have.
Yeah, would you believe it?
Sure,
We've been having
yeah.
lots of sploosh. We're doing these reports, and I'll just say, the hookers we've had, the hookers and the prostitutes we've had are very, very moist. Carry on, please.
Yeah, so the rumors are that both Red Bull and Aston Martin are going to be sanctioned. And the sanction, and again, this is just a rumor, it would be $7.5 million. It's not specified if it's combined or for each of them. And also, there should be a reduction of the hours in the wind tunnel, for both of them. So those are the rumors of what's going to happen on Wednesday. There were some really interesting things which happened in Singapore, like, for example, the fact that Ferrari was supposed to bring a new floor. They decided not to. Somebody said that they didn't because they didn't want to stir the pot and, just to be on the safe side of being accused of, budget cut for next year, stuff like that. So they decided to play a little bit closer to the chest. I think it's simply bullshit. I think that it would bring the new floor in Japan, where it will actually make some kind of difference. But so those are the rumors that I was able to gather. I don't know if they're going to be true. Okay. We will know it for sure because it's the FIA. So when they say something, they do it, and they do it on time. We will know it for sure on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I haven't said of which month and of which year, but it's going to be a Wednesday.
They better think carefully about this. I was listening to a podcast that featured Frank Durney, who you may remember as Williams engineer, McLaren engineer, worked for most of the big teams. He was saying that the loopholes that you could find on a budget cap are going to be ridiculous. For instance, you could take Hamilton, and instead of the team employing a trainer, a dietitian and all these things. You have Hamilton employing them. Mechanics. Hamilton could be the employer of the mechanics rather than the team. That means the team.
Yeah, but Lucky, we sorry, I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry interrupting you because we talked about it when the budget cap was starting, and I mean there are some things that we already know that can happen. Okay,
Yeah.
Those are written in the rules. Those are not up for debate. One of the things that me and Simon said at the beginning when we read, the whole thing, one of the predictions that I made was that a lot of people like Bird, the top engineer will be hired as being PR or, in PR, because PR is one of the aspects that is outside the budget cap.
Right.
So if you have an engineer and you hire him as a PR person, he doesn't fall in the budget cap, and that's it. And listen, I am fine with that. I got no problems at all with that. Not at all. Examining economic documents is not easy, and depending on who examines a document, they will find different results. And that's another thing that I'm totally fine with that. What I'm saying is that every person which examines some economical documents have their own criteria. So they have a rule book, and those persons will have some criteria. I am fine with them having some criteria. My problem right now is establishing a precedent. So I would be okay if they find out those two teams, over the budget cap for those criteria. I'm cool, because actually it's a good thing, because next year all the teams, they will know what are the personal criteria that that the committee or whatever they examine the documents are following. It's a matter of it's like what we said about before with the race director. It's a problem of consistency.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is that if the rumors that it was said are true, it's a huge travesty, because basically what it says is that it doesn't matter if you spend too much, you just pay a fine and you win the world championship anyway. That is the issue. That is the real issue,
Well, they have a whole list of sanctions that are possible. Okay,
Yes.
but and this is just addressing and saying the same thing you said, I guess, back, which is to say that they could take Verstappen's championship away from him. They could take Red Bull's championship as constructors' championship away from them. But we know, I mean, look at the last race. They didn't even want to fucking take a win away from Perez for one race. Okay,
Yes.
okay, so clearly that isn't going to happen. So that leaves the other sanctions, right? And the other sanctions are basically, as someone I saw that was reviewing this, it's basically like someone going in, robbing a bank, and saying, yeah, it'll be okay if you just pay the money back. They've already robbed the bank. It's too late. And Toto's point about this was, well, that gave them an advantage for last year, which is transferred to this year as well, because that was preparation on last year's car, which we've taken forward to this year. So actually, that's worth two lots of budget caps, right? That they've broken in effect. And if you're a team that isn't doing that, then you're at a competitive disadvantage. So if they don't take the World Championship away from Red Bull, which is what I suspect is the only reasonable thing to do in this case, then what does that mean? Well, it means that next year Ferrari, Mercedes, all the other teams are just going to go straight to an extra 7% or 5% on top of their budget cap, even if they just take away as a sanction, right, 5% from next year's budget cap on Red Bull.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me how this can be policed properly. And we did talk about this at the time. And I did say to you, I guarantee you, Red Bull are going to be pushing the absolute limit on this. And they're going to be hiding shit left, right, and center. Right?
Listen, but it's okay hiding shit. Again, it's what I said before. It's okay if they hide shit. And it's okay if the criteria they follow are the ones which are, okay with the committee. I'm fine.
Yeah.
That is something which has never been done. So it's important to establish a precedent.
Yes.
What we are now in a position where it seems to be that they got at least 2 teams that they violated those rules. So regardless of the criteria that they applied, it seems to be that 2 of them, they shat the bed. And in my opinion, the only viable option that they can apply is to revoke all the championship point for the team. That's it. Leave the one to the drivers and punish. The same way that happened with McLaren, you know.
Yeah.
And there is one thing which gives me great satisfaction, Simons, and I got to tell you in your face that because you've
Hang
been
on a
giving
minute.
me,
Hang on a minute.
yeah, sit down. Yeah, there you
There we
go.
go.
There
Tell
you
me the
go.
space.
Yes, Ferrari is not fucking involved with that. So it's shit, right? And carry on. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
This needs to
No,
be-
well,
No, but then- no,
ciao, mio compagno tifosi,
I know what you're gonna say. I mean, it was okay if it was only Red Bull because you can always say, "Oh, it's an Austrian team." But Aston Martin is pretty British, you know. It also has a racing green, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
you know?
technically
So-
Canadian, but okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So there
We
you-
own. I think we still own Canada, so fair enough.
yeah.
Lucky, what do you think about Lucky? What do you think about the possible sanctions that should be put on for?
Well, my question is, who's going to be the arbiter of this? Is this a Liberty Media decision, or is this an FIA decision, or is this going to
You
be
know
like,
it
FIA.
is.
No, it's
Well, you
FIA.
know it's going to be controlled by Liberty Media, though, right?
No, Liberty Media was actually. I mean, if it were Liberty Media, I will actually sue them and be there as an offended party because again, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Liberty Media for the job that they did, and I wasn't really believing they were going to do that big of a job, and they're actually doing a great job. We have more people on the track. The sport is followed way more. And it's the FIA
True.
which is it's behind. It's uncanny. It's 10 years behind what it used to be. They went back in time. They're so bad. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think the Charlie Whiting death really hit Formula One hard because, as I say, he was the guy that really wrote the rule book as well as, he was there through all of the safety changes. The reason why rules are the way they are, he knows. And so he knows exactly sometimes when and when not to punish, right? And even then, there was still politics involved, of course, because Formula One is politics, right? Going back to the days when Ferrari were involved in every political decision that the FIA made. I'm talking about the Jean Todt days, of course.
No, but it's a mix of things. I think the Whiting situation actually hurt them a lot.
And Max Mosley's situation as well.
Even if if you ask me, if you have a huge company like the FIA is, you cannot fail if one person dies or decides to resign. That is lack of oversight. So that is one thing. And I think the other massive thing is the change in management. This Arab guy, I can't even remember who the fuck he is.
Mohammed
Yeah.
bin Salayem.
It seems to be. It doesn't even know what
Hang on
the
a minute.
fuck is.
Yeah, say that again, Lucky. Who is it?
Mohammed bin Salam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He's
mean,
an ex-rally driver. He drove rally cars.
well, in my opinion, he should have been kept racing cars because he's really bad at what he's doing. Whatever the fuck he's doing, which I'm not really sure of, is really bad. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
bearing in mind he's taken over Bernie's job, right? Bernie Ecclestone's job, and Bernie, there's no more. What's the word I'm looking for? There's no better used car salesman than
Right.
Bernie was, right? And if he
Well,
can get a number of people to do something they don't want to do, that's Bernie.
I think
So-
Yeah, but
dictator might be a more apt description of Bernie. Bernie was good at dealing with the teams as a single person. I mean, he took no shit from the teams. there's no such person anymore. That one single person that can deal with the teams. It's
Bernie was a son of a bitch, which made his own
yes, he was.
interests.
Yeah,
Period.
that's for sure. But he
And
was
and
still
you, no. Listen, and you can work with that.
Yeah.
I can work with
yes,
somebody which
yeah,
is evil. I can work with that because I know what to expect.
yes, consistency.
Mohammed Ben Suleimani, whatever the fuck, it seems to me that he's a massive idiot, and that is a problem because you cannot work with that.
Well, I've got to say this in his slight defense, right? He's new to the job, and the power Bernie had to say to anybody, any team, you can fuck off, right? Was like no other power that anybody else has had in Formula One.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
makes a difference when you're talking about dealing with the FOM. Okay, because they do
Yeah,
want to get together and they do want to have their little right. I mean,
that
just for instance, getting the budget through, right? To have a budget in Formula One is huge, absolutely huge. Now they had to do it for the longevity of the sport, admittedly. So they were cutting their own throats if they were going to go on competing the way they were. But nonetheless, it's a huge deal to make it, and the fact that it's so low, right? It's only 140 million or 135 million next year, right? That's just a drop in the ocean compared to
I
what the teams were spending and have spent for the last 40 years. Go
But
ahead.
no, so the thing is, I mean, I agree with you. It's a massive job. It's a difficult job,
Mhm.
and I'll give you all of that. My issue is that it seems to me that they're failing on the things that are not difficult.
Yeah.
The stewards in the race, that is not a difficult thing. Everybody would have told them that is not a good idea. You cannot change stewards from race to race and expect consistency.
Mm.
It doesn't happen anywhere, right? So that is a thing which doesn't require a Nobel Prize. The other thing that they did, when they issued the calendar, usually they issue the calendar with the FIA, sorry, with the F1, which is now is Liberty Media. It's a common agreement because everybody's got their logistic problems. This year, apparently, Liberty Media was super pissed off because the FIA decided to release the calendar without consulting them or whatever.
Wow.
It wasn't a common, press release. And Liberty Media said, yeah, fuck you very much. Now you're telling me where we're going to race in those dates, and we don't even know how to arrange all the proper, logistics to move all these fucking circles around. So, and again, that is not something that is complicated. That seems to be really easy.
Mm.
And they're failing at those things. And this is the thing which is worrying me,
Yeah. I mean,
Anyway.
we've never had that before, of course, because Bernie has been so hands-on, and he's kept the FIA to the point of being the rule keeper
Yeah,
rather than the rule maker, and then maybe that's the difference now.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need to finish up. So,
Yes.
anything you'd like to say, Fabio, for the end?
Yes, a couple of small things. It seems to be that Nick De Vries has signed with AlphaTauri for 2023.
Poor
Totally.
kid.
Uh,
Poor kid.
and it will get the place of, apparently, again, still rumors, it will take the place of Pierre Gasly,
Hmm.
which will go in Alpine instead of Fernando Alonso. So that is
Yeah.
another thing which
Again,
apparently is happening.
a nuts move, right? Why does Alpine want two drivers that hate each other? Because they're French. Like, that's going to make the difference. Like,
Yeah.
that's going to suddenly get them to work together, right? These guys have been at each other's throats
Yeah.
since they were 10 years old, right? They fell out literally when in their early teens, right? Because they couldn't kart together.
You
Okay, they
know,
couldn't.
what's
It's
the
fucking
thing,
nuts, man.
the thing which is really funny, and because I said it before, I think that Alonso is, I mean, is a great driver, but in my opinion, easily a bit overrated. The fact that since he decided to jump ship, he has consistently and constantly beat Ocon like there is no fucking tomorrow.
Yeah.
That guy is nowhere, and now he's just there. He's just baiting, and say, "Fuck off, I'm leaving."
Yeah. That's kind of happening with Gasly as well. Gasly's getting
Yeah.
really mouthy now. Now he knows he's leaving the Red Bull
of-
stable, right?
Of course he does, because in Alpine next year, Ocon is supposed to be the first driver, right? And he's been constantly, shat by Alonso. So Gasly, which knows he goes there, said, "You know what? I'm gonna make some space even before I get there, because this guy's not good at all. So I'm going to talk big."
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't agree with that because like Ocon is super consistent. He's very much like Albon, but he doesn't like a nosy car, right? He likes a neutral car. He likes to hang on to his tires, and so you know what I mean. If he can't do that, I think that's why Alonso's really got the better of him, because Alonso's just worked out, right? Well, actually, I'm going to have the setup the way I want it. I'm not going to start trying to do setup for Ocon. I'm just going to put everything on the front, and I'm going to drive like a
There is also the zero fucks that Alonso gives right now.
Of course,
Of
course. Yeah. I think he probably gave zero fucks before, right? Because
yeah.
Alonso.
Yeah, but that was official.
Okay. So yeah, Nick de Vries. I feel sorry for him going to AlphaTauri because there is literally no space at the top team there, and even when, well, I mean, he's going to have to be super fast in the AlphaTauri if he's going to take Perez's spot. And let's face it, Perez now has signed a 2-year deal.
Not Perez. Oh, you mean
No,
Red Bull eventually?
De Vries, when he's going to AlphaTauri, right? He's got no chance. He's got to wait 2 years before he gets a shot at Red Bull.
Yeah. I mean, I think he can do bad. He can't do bad. I mean, he's going to race against Tsunoda, so that shouldn't be, a bad thing for him,
Yeah, good point. Okay. Hello, Robert, by the way. Thank you for stopping by. We really
Ciao,
appreciate it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, etc., etc. Lucky, any comments you'd like for the finishing sort of portion here?
Well, I was actually tempted to make a joke about a full-time steward in Michael Schumacher, but perhaps I won't, in just a good taste.
Thank you.
How we could probably do a better job than what's happening at the moment. But
yeah, it's true.
I'll refrain from making that joke while I make it, boy.
Okay, we'll ignore. We'll block our ears to that. Yes. Go ahead.
Alonso, I kind of agree with you. It's about time he just had enough and let somebody younger take the spot, wherever it may be. What else can we say?
I mean, Ocon is younger, and he's still being beaten by Alonso. So,
yeah, but you're saying he's laughing. You're right. He's laughing all the way to the bank because people are giving him loads of money to drive their cars, and as long as the teams keep giving him money, good luck to him, I guess.
Yeah.
Take the money and then stick it under your mattress.
Of course he is. What else would you do? Same with Ricciardo. I mean, Ricciardo still hasn't signed his deal with Mercedes yet because he thinks he can get a drive for some decent money. That's it. He doesn't care, and he don't care where it is on the grid. But he knows if he's an F1 driver, he'll get paid 10 times more than if he's an F1 test driver.
Ricciardo already said that it would be okay for him just to stay at home for 1 year. So.
Yeah, because he was paid out of his contract, wasn't he? He got a load of money for paying for.
That hasn't been decided yet. It depends.
No. I know, but that's what I've heard that he said. He said, you know what? If worst case scenario, I'm gonna stay home for 1 year. I'm fine with that. So
sure, but
it's not that he's gonna.
He's saying that. Yeah, but he's saying that so Zach Brown gets worried and gets a move on to try and find him a drive, right? Because that's what he wants. Okay, if Zach Brown finds him a drive, Zach Brown doesn't have to pay him 20 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's more probably have to pay him 10 million still, but he won't have to pay the full 20 million that he would be owed if he stays at home.
Maybe now
that's why he doesn't want to take the reserve Mercedes drive.
Yeah. I mean, Ricciardo won the lottery and he didn't even buy the ticket.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Well, he kind of did, but his manager got him that. Get out clause,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So hey, there you go, right? And Zach Brown signed it, so whatever.
Mhm.
But anyway, I think he wants to be on the grid. He said he would.
Oh, yeah,
He hasn't signed for Mercedes yet because he wants to be on the grid. And again, I think it's just putting pressure on McLaren to find him that drive.
Yeah.
Which he stands no chance of getting, by the way. Although he may be able to take the Alpha drive, right? I mean, that's potentially somewhere he could go instead of Zhao or Joe.
I think Joe has already been confirmed. I think. I'm not
I
really
thought
sure.
he'd been confirmed
Yeah,
as
I think
well,
it's been
but
confirmed.
that doesn't mean a lot necessarily,
Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying, with someone like Zhao, okay, he comes with a few mil, but not
Well,
much.
I mean, it's not the good old times where a contract was even worth, the paper it was written of. Now they got, a plethora of lawyers and all that shit. I mean, the good old times, you sign a contract, you think you're okay, you show up, and no, your car is not ready because there is
Yeah,
like,
right.
dude, and fuck off. Yeah.
I mean, the stories that Eddie Jordan tells about his Schumacher contract and how
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
broken. It comes down to literally whether Bernie Ecclestone says the contract's good or not,
Yeah,
which I,
yeah.
I just thought was hilarious.
It was
Absolutely.
fantastic.
But
yeah.
but there you go. There you go. Okay. Anything else, Lucky?
No, I think that's.
We're at Japan next
Yes,
week.
Suzuka.
Yes, you're in
And
Japan.
it's probably 2 weeks, is it, or is it 1 week?
I think it's
And
next week.
how do you think Suzuka will go? Famous for being rainy, of course.
That's
which
what I
could
was
be
going to
fun.
say. Let's hope it doesn't rain.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Those-
otherwise we'll be up to
Those
more
poor
of the same.
Formula One drivers might get their feet wet. They'll have to delay the start.
Yeah. I was more worried about Buster, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's next week, Japan, and let's hope that Red Bull will have enough money. Yeah, I mean they open a GoFundMe for fuel. So if anybody wants to send some money,
Yeah. that was the other joke, wasn't it, Fabio?
Yeah.
Oh dear,
Yeah.
Verstappen didn't complete his qualifying lap.
Yeah.
Because they
Red-
needed fuel at the end.
Yeah.
So Fabio wrote to me and said it's probably because they didn't have enough money in the budget cap for fuel.
yeah.
All right, and Japan,
Ju-
yes. Maybe it won't
Giuseppe-
be as moist in Japan. Yes,
Yeah.
there is a chance. Although, if you've ever been out with a Japanese girl,
It's super moist.
I have. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And I just think Japan, of course, a classic circuit.
Yeah.
And
Finally, Jesus Christ.
yeah, I mean it's a hell of a circuit. So thanks very much, everybody. This is the outro. I have an outro now, guys.
Oh,
So
nice.
there you
And
go.
that's all.
Yeah, we're going to play it now for everybody, and
go.
we'll see you all next week.
Before-
Thank you
before
very
you play
much.
it- Before you
Ciao,
play the
ciao.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Before you play the outro, I think we should have Fabio say "moist" again in his Italian accent.
Yeah, oh please, yeah. Most moist. Most moist, please.
Oh, baby.
Could you say the most moist for me?
It's the most moist.
Oh my God.
Fucking brilliant. Okay, hang on a minute. How do I share again?
I'm
Oh yeah, there we go.
I'm speechless.
Ciao.
See you later, guys.
Thank you very much.